Let us take a bus. Can it get crowded? Yeah, but I don't want to be the guy that films random people without permission, so I chose a really empty one. As you can see, it's practically only me here and the driver. Taipei has a pretty extensive bus system. It can get you almost anywhere, although it might take quite a while. Buses are operated by several different companies, and each has its own livery, so it's all very colorful. At this point, you're probably wondering if there is a company that's all pink. Yes, there is. It's called Xinxin Keiyun. But the bus we're on is from another company, Zhongxing Bashi. If the letter word sounds familiar, it's because Bashi is just a loan word for a bus from English. How did I find such an empty bus? It's not really difficult because there are some lines that don't run very often, so few people bother with them. The Blue 7 we're on, connecting the City Hall next to the Taipei 101 skyscraper with the National Palace Museum in the northern Shilin district, is one of such buses. City buses in Taiwan are made in China. Frankly, they are not up to par with what you see in Europe. Even on the newest ones, only some part of the cabin is low floor. The seat plan is not well thought out, and they are also much noisier. On the other hand, aircon usually works very well. Long distance buses can be very luxurious, but that's another story. There are no articulated buses in Taipei. They were tested but ended up being considered too dangerous given the traffic situation. There is no schedule per stop, only headway, or for rarely operated routes, the time a bus departs the terminus, unclear from which side. However, buses are tracked in real time in a central system. Many stops now have LCD displays telling you when and whether the next bus is coming. Taipei city government also runs a website where you can see where the buses are. Google Maps also pulls this information now. Every bus has a route plan on display, though to read all the stop names you need to know Chinese. A couple of most important stops are translated. However, all stops are announced on the display and with voice messages. Since the announcements weren't working on this bus, which sometimes happens, I filmed an example on another one. Since I'm pretty much the only person on board except the driver, why not have a seat? Standard bus fare is 15 Taiwan dollars, sometimes paid twice for longer trip. There used to be a quite clever system telling you whether to pay when you get on or get off, but now everybody uses a stored value card and you're supposed to touch in and touch out all the time. There is a 50% discount if you transfer from a bus to the Taipei Metro or vice versa. More recently, this was extended to transferring between buses, but only some of them. It used to be that you had to pay per trip, but there is now a monthly ticket available, although at 1280 Taiwan dollars it's hardly a great deal. There are plans to introduce a better monthly ticket, although the government mindset seems to be that the public transport should operate on a commercial basis and pay for itself. The reduction in congestion and pollution thanks to increased ridership is not seen as a primary policy goal. So while public transport is not expensive, riding a scooter is cheaper yet and often faster, and that's what many people predictably go for. Do bus numbers in Taipei follow a pattern? Originally they did, but over the years it's become more muddied. The earliest buses had 1 or 2 digit numbers only. 0 in particular was the route going to the main train station, split into north, south and east. The letter 2 still exists to this day. Then the newer lines were allocated the numbers 2 and 300 something, depending on whether you had to pay 2 or 3 times the base fare. So the 300s were the longest routes, although more recently you never had to pay more than twice the base fare on them anyway. Not all buses used to be air-conditioned, so the 5 and 600 series were allocated to air-conditioned equivalents of the double-digit buses and 200s respectively. 400 was skipped altogether as it's an unlucky number. The red seats are prioritized for people in need. Everyone else is supposed to yield. You can leave your feedback. Always thought it was a nice touch. There's also a toll-free number. All stops are on request. To get off, press a button. To get on, wave and make sure the driver sees it. Many buses ran outside of Taipei City into Taipei County, which has now become a separate donut-shaped city in the meantime. Yet the routes were all being decided by the Taipei City government. Eventually, to address that, the 7 and 800 numbers were handed over to the Taipei County to use for their own routes. The 900 series has seen a variety of different uses. There have also been a few buses in the 100 series. These are the tourist lines operating on the holidays only. A more recent addition were the colored metro lines. These were supposed to have short routes and run often, quickly taking people to and from the nearest metro station. However, as we see on the example of the bus we're on, which runs rarely and goes halfway through the city, it's not a meaningful distinction anymore. This bus connecting blue and brown lines is called Blue 7, which is also arbitrary. The system, which has already been complicated with suffixes such as direct, 直, express, 快, left, 左, right, 右, secondary, 副, shuttle, 区, has only been getting more and more abstruse in the recent years. There are further prefixes such as small, 小, not to be mistaken with the citizens' small bus, 市民小巴, free new bus, 新巴士, and these are only examples. In the last blow to any remnants of lucidity, at the same time as all the long-distance bus routes around Taiwan got enumerated with 4-digit numbers to make them easier to look up, many bus routes within Taipei lost their numbers to become main lines, ganxian. In theory, these buses follow the street they're named after from the beginning to the end. In practice, they also go miles away from the street they took their name from on either end, so it's yet another arbitrary long name instead of a simple number. So, to answer the original question, there used to be some logic in the system, but it's long gone. This bus still has a while to go, and the last passenger, me, is leaving now. In my opinion, not only based on this one trip, this route just doesn't make much sense, except for people like me who want to film a bus inside without bothering others.
谢谢。